Hey there, happy Saturday. Today we're going to make a card using the Ranger Distress Oxide Inks. And today we're going to use picked raspberry, spiced marmalade, mustard seed, twisted citron, and peacock feathers. We're going to make a regular 5.5 by 4 1/4 card. We're also going to be using a couple of stamps that I have from the You Brighten My Day collection from Close to My Heart. And we're going to also try a bit of embossing. So let's see how everything goes today. So real quick, this is a mini blending tool. It is wood and it has some Velcro on one side, on the end part, so you can adhere your little ink blending foam to the bottom. Now what I've done is I have a ton of blending foams that are already inked with the colors that we're going to be using. And I save them that way according to the ink so I don't have any mix-ups. So I'm going to lightly just pounce it into the ink, and I'm going to start real quick doing this to show you how to blend these inks. So we're going to do kind of like a rainbow color pattern today. So I'm going to have my card vertical today. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my card horizontally, and I'm going to start from the corner with my picked raspberry. So I'm going to lightly start brushing and then blending like so. Now it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to start blending all the colors together, but this is just really nice ink and very smooth to use. I really like this ink. So that's my picked raspberry. Come on, Velcro. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and start with the spiced marmalade. Just blending it all together. I am not the tidiest of artists, as we know, so I will go back and blend these colors a wee bit better. But I kind of want to get the idea of where my colors are going to go first. So there's the marmalade. What's happening here? Okay, onto the mustard seed. This is a very pretty, vibrant yellow. So I'm going to blend that in. And if you can already see the succession of colors, it's going to look really pretty when it's done. So onto the twisted citron, which is a very pretty, bright green. Now, twisted citron is not offered from Close to My Heart. I actually found this at Michael's because I wanted a bright green. The one that Close to My Heart offers is Mowed Lawn, and that's actually a really pretty green as well. But for this project, I wanted a brighter green. And then I'm going to go ahead and add peacock feathers to this side. And the colors go really pretty together. So as you can see, there's a rainbow pattern. So real quick, I'm going to go back over my colors just to get more of a blend. And this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to turn my paper a little bit just to get more of a... Oh no, I'm already dirty. Look at my hands. Okay, so I'm going to blend a little more of the green. And then I'm going to go with some more of the mustard seed. And then some more of the spiced marmalade to get it more dark and mixed into both the yellow, or excuse me, the mustard and the raspberry. Now the harder you push, I've found on these blending foams, the more the color blends together a little bit easier. So you're not having such solid breaks in the colors. I'm going to go back and get some more of this really pretty raspberry color. Just blend it some more. And then sometimes I just go a little more in the color just to give a little bit more contrast. I really, really like these inks. It took me a while to kind of learn how to use these because they are kind of finicky. But once you get the hang of it, they're really fun to play with. And so much fun to mix. I know I keep going back and forth, but there's so many variations of the colors that we can make. So looks more of like a blended rainbow. Very, very pretty. And as you can see, I've got some green in my other parts here. So I'm just going to add a little more yellow and call this a day. Okay, so there's my background. Very pretty. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of, I don't want to say texture, but it'll give it some pop. So I'm going to use a little bit of water with this to make some extra designs on the back. So right now I'm going to be using this mini mister that I have from Ranger. It's just a little spray bottle and it has just regular water in it. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit of spray. It will change the colors just a little bit, not much. But before I proceed, I'm actually going to cover my inks and clear these away so we have more room to groove. Okay, out of sight, out of mind. Okay, now we have more room to play. Okay, also I have a paintbrush and a cup of water because I want to add a couple more patterns. So I'm going to lightly flick my paintbrush to get some darker spots or lighter spots because the inks react with water. So it's going to really look cool, kind of like a tie-dye pattern. I really like using these. These are so much fun. Okay, with that, that's finished. I'm going to go ahead and use my heat setting tool to dry the paper a little bit so we can proceed with the next part of the card. This will help also dry the pattern a little bit. See how the colors have changed a little bit? It's pretty. And that way when I go, see, I don't know if you can see this, but where I sprayed the water, there's spray pattern. It's really pretty. Okay, I think we are set. Awesome. Put that aside. Okay. Now, I'm going to use some embossing ink. So we need to clean up this area really nicely. I'm going to actually put an extra piece of paper behind it to catch all the embossing powder. So today we're going to use Versamark, which is a watermark stamp pad. This is clear ink. This is what's going to adhere the embossing powder to our stamps. So we use that. I'm going to use a little bit of black embossing powder, and I'm also going to use some white embossing powder. I also have an anti-static pouch, which is a little pillow that's filled with a powder that you want to rub on your surface before you add the ink. And you know what? My paper is still just a wee bit damp, so I'm going to hit this one more time with the gun, with the heat embossing gun. I guess depending on how much water you use, it might take a little bit more time to dry, but I'm winging it today, so we'll see. I really like how this is coming out. Maybe hit it from the back as well, just to dry the back, because if you could see the water spots on the back. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay. All right. Meanwhile, I'm I'm going to use my anti-static pouch to rub across my card. This will take off any sort of imperfections from the paper before I start stamping, because I definitely want a smooth surface when I'm stamping with the embossing ink. Okay, that's that. Put that away. Clean off my little mitts. Okay, we are going to be using a very cute, simple flower stamp from the You Brighten My Day collection from Close to My Heart. That is item CC92011. You can find this on my website. Comes with all kinds of really cute sentiments, a couple of birds, and some flowers. Very, very cute. So I'm going to, before I forget, I'm going to bring it over my extra piece of paper because I'm going to be putting my project on the paper to dump my powder on because it gets really messy. Okay, so, and I also want my foam sheet for behind here, just to give it a little bit of extra sponge underneath my image. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stamp nice and saturated with the Versamark. And I definitely want to hit this as quickly as possible before the ink dries. So I'm going to just put random flowers all over my paper. Doesn't have to be perfect. The more random it is, the more fun it will be. And then I think we'll add a teeny bitty, well, I think that's pretty. We'll add a little bit of an edge over here. Okay, put that away. And now for the embossing powder. So I'm going to use the black because I think this will pop. And I'm just going to lightly shake this over the images. This is going to get very, very messy. So make sure that when you're using the embossing powder, you have a tray or piece of cardstock or something underneath it to catch all the extra powder. And well, you definitely don't want to have a fan on either while using this stuff. So shake it around, make sure you get an even distribution of powder. And shake it off. Shake off all your excess and see you're left with this really pretty pattern. Now what I like to do is take a paintbrush, a small tiny paintbrush, and just brush away some of the excess powder that may have stuck to the background. The anti-static pouch is supposed to take care of this, but sometimes when you're me, you use a little more stuff than you need to. Like I said, uh-oh, I messed up my flower. It's okay, I'll add a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Very pretty. I'm already liking this. Okay, now if you get a little bit of the powder on other parts of the piece, it's okay. It's going to melt and it's still going to look really cool anyways. So, if you're trying this for the first time, just be prepared. You're going to be practicing and practicing and practicing. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up my powder. I will eventually get a little bowl so it's easier to keep everything in one spot. And I'm going to save this paper for my white ink, which we're going to use for the sentiment. So I'm just going to lightly brush that off, set my paper aside. All right, I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to hit this with some heat. And let's see the magic happen. Now what it's going to do is it's going to melt the powder and it's going to make a raised image, and it's going to look so cool. It'll almost look like a puppy sticker. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very glossy, very, very pretty. It definitely pops. Now there's 2 heat settings on this heat tool. I'm using the lighter one for now. But you definitely want to use caution when using a heat tool because they do get very hot. At least the tip does anyways. You don't want to burn yourself. Do not touch the nozzle. Whatever you do not touch the nozzle. So pretty. Oh, this is so cool. It's gonna look really neat, guys. Okay, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to pop. I did have a little bit of a mistake over there in the corner with the pink, but it's okay. It happens. And we're gonna hit the last flower with the heat gun. There we go. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's very, very shiny. Yeah, there we go. See? Very shiny. Very pretty. Okay, so from there, I'm gonna make sure it's nice and clean. Just wait a little bit, and then you can lightly brush off if there's any things stuck to the paper. Sometimes you will get some splatter depending on how quickly you're moving your heat gun. I'm moving a little bit fast today, but I'm just trying to get you the general idea on how to use this. My image is not going to be perfect today, and I'm okay with that. I'm having fun. Okay, so we're done with the background. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to assemble my card. So here's the 5.5 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to use black cardstock to adhere onto this at 5.5 by 4 1/4. So it's going to completely cover the card. So I have extra powder. Okay, so I'm going to use my crafter's tape, and I'm going to adhere this really briefly, really quickly. Now I found that the bright colors and the blacks look really, really cool together, but when you're using the Distress Oxide inks, any blend looks really, really cool. I mean, especially with like the fall colors, and oh my gosh, so much is happening with fall, so especially with all of our stamps and products that we have. It's going to look really cool using the Distress Oxide inks with all of these pretty, pretty stamps. Okay, so there's my background. So here's this. So I'm going to adhere this here, and my goodness, I have black all over there. So I'm going to flip it down to the bottom so I can kind of cover most of that because it's kind of a mess. So add some more of this. Now, one thing that I've learned using the embossing powders is wherever you get the powder and you use the heat gun, it's going to stick and adhere color too. So use caution. So I'm just going to add this down. Now, the heat gun may or may not warp your paper a little bit. Not a big deal. Once you add your adhesive to it, it will flatten everything out and it will be okay. There's that. Very cute. Okay, set that aside real quick. I'm going to grab my background again, my paper. This time I'm going to use the Versamark with another stamp. This time I'm going to use it on a sentiment. So we're going to use You Brighten My Day, and this also comes from the You Brighten My Day stamp set. So I'm going to put this in the Versamark, get that really nice and saturated, bring this over here. I'm going to stamp this down as even as possible. And I have measured this little sentiment out to 2 inches by 2 inches. So there's that. I'm going to add white embossing ink to this. Make sure you get all the nooks and crannies of that little stamp covered with the powder. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I totally do. Uh-oh, we forgot a big step. It's okay. We're gonna go back and we're gonna do this again. So I'm gonna come over here real quick to my cutting machine. I'm gonna cut another 2-inch square by 2 inches, just because I forgot to use the anti-static pouch. If you do not use the anti-static pouch, before you put the embossing powder and the embossing ink down, you're gonna have a mess. So, try this again, correctly. Here's my little pillow. We're gonna cover this, get it all nice and covered, make sure there's no imperfections on the paper before I stamp this time. There's a little bit left, it's okay, it's not that serious. Okay, try this again. Where's my stamp? We're gonna put this in the Versamark ink. Now, all of this to me is trial and error. Sometimes I like an idea that I do, sometimes I change it right in the middle of my project. It happens quite frequently. Sometimes I make a mistake and I have to go back and correct it. But it's all about having fun. There we go. Okay, so back to this. Just gonna add a little more of this to it. Remember, we're just playing. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to show you the techniques on how the embossing works. And it looks as if my sentiment might be a little bit crooked, but it's all good. So real quick, I'm going to clean up my powder because I don't want this blowing everywhere when I use my heat tool. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna cover my Versamark. And I'm gonna put my stamps aside and we are gonna grab this bad boy one more time and heat it with the heat gun. Now, it does appear that my sentiment is a little bit crooked, but it's okay. If I were doing this off camera, I probably would be restamping this until I get it just right. I'm kind of OCD like that. But if you can see this, the powder is melting perfectly and you're getting a very pretty shimmery raised image. See? Can you see this? See if we can get some light in there. Oh, there we go. See? Very pretty. And it's also going to feel raised, almost like I said, like a puffy sticker. Really cool. Okay, so with that, I'm going to cruise over here, over to my stash of papers, and I'm going to grab a pink, let's see, I like pink, so I'm going to use this today. This is from the Blue Skies collection. I still have plenty of scraps of paper to use. So I've been trying to utilize all my papers before I buy new stuff, but sometimes that's just not possible because I like paper. So, okay, so I cut this at 2 by 2. So I'm gonna cut my square of this flamingo paper to 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. That way we have a really pretty border. And this paper happened to be patterned. I don't know if you can see this, but it's got some really cute shimmery polka dots on it. So, okay, so I'm gonna put this on here. I'm gonna adhere that with some crafter's tape. You don't have to go overboard with the glue. I do, it's just how I roll. Make that so cute. So cute. Okay. Oops. I'm gonna dust off my card. Okay, and I'm gonna put this, I believe, right here. I think that looks really pretty with the background. Now this is just a simple card. You can add anything else to it that you wish. You know what? I may actually just put this in the middle. That'll be pretty. Yeah, put it in the middle. You can add ribbon to your cards. You can add bling. You can add, I mean, there's so many different things you can do with your cards, but I'm just going pretty simple today. There we go. You brighten my day. Okay, and I think that is super cute, very fun, but it needs something. So I'm going to add a wee bit of sparkle. Where is my sparkle? I like adding sparkle to things. I think it adds a little bit of extra something. So I'm going to go through my sparkly stash and see what I got. I've got black and white dots, and I have, where's my itty bitty sparkles? Well, that's something, ain't it? I don't know where my itty bitty sparkles are. Oh no! They must be in one of my other projects. That's okay. We will use these. So I'm going to take a couple of these little, I think black will look cute. So I'm just going to take my little and add just a couple of dots just to give it a little something something. Just shift it over. Now these little dots have adhesive on the back. So you just want to, what happened? Oh, that one didn't have adhesive on it. Try it again. Slide it off of the backing with your nail. There we go. And it will stick. Let's add one. We'll add one right here. I think that'll look cool. Now I've been known to flip these off of the paper and lose them, later stepping on them, which is, you know, interesting. So there we have it. That is my You Brighten My Day card. This has been really fun. Now, if I wasn't videotaping this, I would probably take a little more time to make sure there was extra powder off and what have you, but it's just simple. I just wanted to basically show you the technique and the ways you can use the really pretty Distress Oxide inks as well as the embossing technique. So I hope you like this card that I made, and if you have any questions, please give me a shout. I do offer all of these things on the Close to My Heart website. Again, the Distress Oxide inks are in raspberry, spiced marmalade, mustard seed. The only one we don't have is the twisted citron. I got this one at Michael's, but we do have the peacock feathers. The pink paper was from the Blue Skies collection that I had. This is just regular black cardstock. And then I used black embossing powder as well as the white embossing powder and the black dots from the white and black dot collection. So there you have it. So I'm off to make some more messes, and I hope to catch you again soon. Have a wonderful day.